Welcome everyone back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about file types basically, mainly because I broke off ended one of my collaborations with a company, and so for this particular reason, and so I want to go over file types to just give everyone a refresher, or some of you who may not know why certain files that you have are more important than others. And so I want to definitely go over that part of it. So let me bring up my screen here. So in photography, let me grab my camera. All right. So in photography, I'm assuming everyone, well, not everyone, but those of you who capture photographs digitally, this is what we have first. So for me, I'm using Adobe Bridge for file management. Most of the time when I see something that I like out of camera, I label it blue. And so shortcut for that is Command 9. These are, because I'm using Canon, these are CR2 files. They are not printable. They're just the raw digital files. I guess if you look at when everyone used to use film, that's the negative file. So on the digital side of it, we call it the raw file. And that's really your most important file type. And like I said, I'm using Canon, so it's CR2. And then what we have also down here, I label it yellow. But these are my small JPEG files. If you look at the file size, on the longest size, it's like 2100 pixels. It's 72 ppi, which is like pixels per inch. So those are really small files. They're only good for sharing on social media, online, your website, etc. And these are really not printable. If you try to print these out, you can print these out this small, but they're going to be extremely pixelated. So you're not going to have a high quality print with these. Now, the next type I have is another JPEG file, but this one's labeled red. This is the native size of the original file. So anything that's labeled in blue, the original file size is like a 12-inch by 18-inch. That's just how big the print would be if you don't enlarge it. And so, again, because I can't print out the raw files, sometimes I turn it into a JPEG that's exactly the native file size, which is 12 by 18. It's a little bit bigger than that, but that's basically what you have. Now, if you take the 12-inch by 18-inch JPEG, you can print it out to that size. They now have AI software that can help you enlarge that without losing a lot of resolution. But once you go over 12 by 18 with the native file size, you're going to start losing resolution. The picture quality is not going to be as good. It's still going to be solid, especially with the AI enhancements, but I don't like using AI enhancements or, like AI improvements. So I would say, however you send it to your printer or your photo lab, make sure it's at the correct size. And it's 300 ppi in this case, which is points per inch or pixels per inch. So you'll see that down there. I don't think I can expand this. No, I don't think I can expand that. But you'll see that in the metadata in terms of what the dots per inch is, the DPI. And what else is there? Now, the green, anything labeled in green, that's literally my signature print. Usually I write my signature on the photograph with the iPad pencil, and I tweak it, to thin out the signature. Now, these are also, I would say these are your second most important files. So you have the raw files, which is in blue. Well, I label mine in blue. That's your most important file, because if you lose this file, then yes, you can have a JPEG file, but you're not going to be able to do as many edits on it. Once you change it from the raw file to a JPEG file, you start to really lose image quality once you do that. So always keep your raw file, in this case the CR2, so that you can duplicate this file to make multiple versions of the same photograph. If you want to do one version in black and white, a different version in color, you can make as many versions as you want to. You can always print it out at full size. You can enlarge the photograph so much easier, and you keep the image quality up there without using the AI enhancements. So definitely, this is the raw file is the most important file type. Now, the print file that you actually send to the photo lab or to your printer, that's the second most important, because you have to make sure that when you send this file out, you don't send it out to just anyone, right? Because this is the file that, in my case, this is a 40 inch by 60 inch in terms of dimensions. So that's pretty big. 60 inches is 5 feet. So this would be 5 feet high, a little over 3 feet in width. And that's at 300 PPI. That's, really good image quality. So you want to make sure that you don't share this file with just anyone, because they can basically print the file as many times as they want, from a 4x6 inch all the way up to, I guess you can push it up to 96 inches in terms of, on the longest side, in terms of how big you want to print it. Especially with the AI enhancements, you can probably push it up that high. So you don't want this file getting into the wrong hands, which I've expressed before is like why I don't keep my work on the cloud. Because again, I was having issues with people who were not even in the same country getting access to my Google Drive, and of course having access to all my file folders. So took all of my work off the cloud. I did buy a solid state drive, and I keep my files on there. So it goes back to my original point of why I ended one of my collaborations recently, is because the agreement got changed to where I would have to give them the signature print, the full file, and I wouldn't know when an order would come in. I couldn't track when an order would come in, how many times my work was being printed. There was no way for me to keep track of it. So with a lot of collaborations, I would say majority of the time, sometimes you will have to give your print file to like a third party, or if it's an agency and they want to print, they want to take your file and print it on their paper, because if they have like an in-house printer, Then you have those occasions. If you're licensing your photography, obviously you have to give them a file big enough for them to print. So if you're using Getty images, then you'll have to, even if it's like a 24 by 36 printable file size, you'll have to give them something, because when a license comes in, they need a printable file. So you really have to understand where your work is going, how many times it's being sold. You really have to trust the person or the company or the agency that you're giving your printable files to, because again, you can't keep track of that. So what you want to keep from happening is you want to make sure that the person you're giving your print files to, they're not printing the work and selling it without your knowledge of it, which is definitely something that can happen if you give your work to the wrong people, or if you have your work on the cloud, your print files on the cloud, and then someone hacks into your account, pulls all your files. They can print the work as much as they want to and sell it without you getting compensated at all. Obviously, you have to go into court, copyright laws, that sort of thing. Now, if you have your work formally copyrighted, then that definitely does help. It's not necessary, but it definitely does help in terms of having official documentation. It just makes it easier, and I think that you get compensated even more if it's formally registered as far as the copyright with the government. And what else is there? If you have a ton of work, then you don't have to copyright everything one image at a time. You can go by an entire collection or series or groups of collections, something that can make, having that copyright coverage officially, having that go faster and easier, less expensive, right? So that's the whole thing that's really what I wanted to focus on for this, is that if you are giving your print files out, make sure that you have some type of, like a really solid working relationship with who you're sharing your print files with. And so for me, with the website, let me see if I can go back over here. With the website, I have everything going through the photo lab. And so an order comes in, they have my print files on their server, and I'm not worried about that part of it, because that's just normal. Working with the labs, they have everybody's print files. So that's just how that goes. But if you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, suggestions that I can add, because I'm probably gonna go over this subject again sooner or later. But that's all I have for right now. Everyone take care. God bless.